In this video, I'm going to give 3 tips for playing Traveller RPG solo. Now, this is something I've gotten comments for about a year and a half, and I haven't made a video yet because I'm not currently playing Traveller solo. I have a big, long list of games that I'm looking to play, and while Traveller isn't at the top of that list, it is moving up slowly as I cross games off my list and cross gaming experiences off my list. So today I'm going to give 3 tips on how to play Traveller solo, and this might kick off kind of more information about how I approach Traveller solo, and of course, as always, I'm hoping we can use the comments below to continue to give tips and have a discussion on how each of you and all of us engages with Traveller as a solo game. So here are my 3 tips. Tip number 1 is really to use and read the rule book, but not just to know the rules specifically. Read the rule book and figure out which part of the rules interest you the most. As I said in a previous video, my top 10 Traveller mechanics, the rule book is great because it's set up as a toolbox. You can use whatever part of the rules you want and you can kind of hand wave the rest of it. A good example is jump space in Traveller. There is in the rulebook a specific system of mechanics set up when you want to enter jump space, from astronavigation to using engines and making some dice rolls. And then if you succeed, you make the jump how you want. And if you don't succeed, there could be any sort of mishaps or even disasters depending on how poorly that you fail that particular roll. Now this can be tedious because more often than not, your ship is going to succeed in entering jump space. However, there are certain times if you're being chased by another vessel or if your ship is severely damaged that it's a risk to enter jump space. And using these rules can introduce some really exciting gameplay mechanics. So for some people, they use these rules. For some people, they don't. But ultimately, it doesn't break the game if you don't use them or if you do use them. They're there for you if you want them. And if you don't want them, you can put them down and ignore them and just kind of hand wave that process. So a lot of people that I've talked with who play Traveller solo, they might look at, for example, designing vehicles or computers or ships as a solo activity within the Traveller RPG. There are massive engineering subsystems around these activities, and a lot of people enjoy those activities solo. Another good example is scouting and exploration. There are tons of generators for flying to new sectors or subsectors and discovering new worlds and new animals and things like that, and you can use these rules to play solo. My personal favorite is using the trading and economy. While the rules are not perfect, I find them very, very fun. And most of my games end up with at least some sort of trading component. And I think that can be a really, really fun way to engage with Traveller as a solo system. So that's tip number 1. Read the rules and figure out which parts of the rules you like best and are most interested. Step number 2 then is to create a play pattern. Now what I mean by this is, and this is something Traveller is set up really, really nicely for, is think about what you want to do in your game and then create a repeating pattern of play that you can follow. So a good example is if I am looking to play a scout exploration game, I might have a pattern of step number 1, decide a location and jump my ship to the location. Step number 2, engage in my scouting actions. These might be using different tools and sensors on my ship to identify what worlds they are in the system and then maybe visiting those worlds. And I might say that if I fail a roll, then there's a space encounter, and those take time. And the whole goal with a scouting mission is to scout the system or the world as quickly as possible and make fun discoveries, but also do it in a time frame that makes sense so I can get back to the scouting base, deliver the data, and get paid, right? And so that's step 2 is make scouting actions. And then step 3 is maybe prepare my scouting report. And maybe I might fill out some sort of form that I've created or found online that is the results of my scouting expeditions, and then I repeat back at step 1. Once I've finished scouting the subsector, I go on and choose another location and jump to it. For trading, it might look something like this. In fact, this is what I use for trading games when playing Traveller solo. Step number 1, I choose a location and jump to it. Step number 2, I have a space encounter upon arrival. Step number 3, I go to the starport and have a starport encounter. Step number 4, then, I choose my trading actions. This might include selling any cargo that I have, buying new cargo, and if the starport encounter included something like a patron encounter, it might include trying to do a job for that patron. And then I start over back at step 1. I choose a new location and jump to it, and I follow those simple steps in a play pattern. What I found is starting with a very, very small 3-step or 4-step play pattern is an excellent way to start playing Traveler solo, because you get started playing the game quickly, and it's such a small system that you'll be able to get through the game pretty quickly. But the great advantage of starting small is that as you begin to understand the rules and use more resources around the rules that you enjoy, you can add steps to enrich the gameplay experience that you want. Step number 3 then is find resources that make sense for the game you want. One of the wonderful benefits of Traveler, it's been around for 40 something years, and there are so many resources from the 70s, 80s, 90s, early 2000s, mid 2000s, now in the 2020s that you can use to help enhance your game. Additionally, Traveler is wonderful in the sense that it uses the same core mechanics from the very first edition all the way through Mongoose 2nd edition right now, the 2d6 mechanic. And while some of the skills may have changed or some of the balancing may have changed, it's really not that hard to pick up something written 40 years ago and use it with today's rule set. It's not that difficult to translate that. Something like Dungeons & Dragons is much more difficult to translate across 40 to 50 years of game design changes. And so, for example, if you're looking to play a game where you're designing ships or vehicles or computers, you might look at the Vehicle Handbook or Deck Plans, for example, as other resources to take a look at. For exploration games, you might look at the World Tamer's Handbook, the Scout Book, or Animal Encounters. And for trading games, you might look at the Merchant Prince books, Central Supply Catalog. And then there's all sorts of other resources that can help improve and enhance your experience for the other parts of your play pattern. So for example, you might use the 760 Patrons book. You might look at the Space Stations book if you want a variability across your space stations. You might look at a Distress Calls resource for space RPGs if you want a specific designed distress call for your game, and you might also look at a Starport book if you're looking at using starports for your game. There's so much content and so many resources for Traveler, both free and paid, that once you start with the play pattern following the rules you like, you'll be able to find resources that further enhance the game content that you're consuming, but also the game mechanics that you're engaging with. And those are my 3 tips for playing Traveler solo. Number 1, find the parts of the rules that interest you most. Step number 2 is create a simple play pattern, because you can always make it more rich and more complex over time. And step number 3 is find resources that help supplement the content and add to the mechanics of your play pattern. Let me know in the comments below what types of tips and tricks you have for playing Traveler solo. Also, let me know what types of resources you think are wonderful for playing Traveler solo. Of course, I need to mention the Solo by Zozer Games, supplement. It's with the Cepheus engine. That, along with all the other resources I mentioned in this video, will be down in the links below, so check those out if you're looking to play Traveler solo. I hope this helps. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.